What's going on, everybody? Thank y'all for tuning into the Vibe Show. I'm Vashawn Mosley, the host of the Vibe Show. And now we got a special guest in the building, R&B singer Princeton Michael. What's going on, man?
Yo, 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 what's good, everybody? Talk to me.
Yeah, man. So we'll start off from the top. Tell everybody where you were born and where you grew up.
Ah, man, originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Okay.
Family had a church there for 16 years, mom singing, pastor, and all that stuff. So obviously I took the cliche gospel route into the mix, and that's home for me. I live currently now in Michigan, but Milwaukee, Wisconsin, that's home for me.
There you go. There you go. All right.
Yeah.
So was the I guess we can just jump into it. What kicked off your musical roots?
Oh man, what kicked off my musical roots? To be honest, a lot of it was my mom. A
Uh-huh.
lot of it was my dad. My dad plays saxophone, the harmonica, all that stuff. So jazz, gospel was huge,
All right.
and his brothers as well played a pivotal part in the journey, to say the least. So music's always been there. So, and I think my mom, us as men, we're typically more practical and logical beings. So my mom was kind of that creative niche in my ear that always said, "Son, listen, if you want to do it, you go ahead and do it." So she was in a gospel group for a long time,
Okay.
where they recorded records and did all that and toured around the country, churches and whatnot. So I think she helped me understand that it actually was a real thing, even though gospel, that genre itself is huge, but it's more so respected in church.
Yeah.
So she definitely gave me a huge open window into the industry, just
Okay.
because of always having that powerhouse voice around. So I'm not even gonna play. I mean, it definitely comes from my immediate family. I mean, it's right there.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
When it comes to you, like what inspired you for each song? Like what I mean, like when it comes to you writing
Gotcha.
your
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I consider myself a hopeless romantic, to be honest. So I
Okay.
love I love the old fashioned traditional way of romancing a woman.
I
So
got
it's kind of it's a double edged sword, because the real me isn't always like that. But I consider myself a storyteller, someone who writes those fairy tales, the movies that get all the women in the seats.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so when it comes to music, that's what it is for me. I love to display a type of love that I do feel exists. It might be hard to obtain,
yeah.
but in my head, I still believe that it's a real obtainable thing. And so that fuels me to write the way I write, especially if anyone has seen my little snippets where I'm at the piano writing and I
Yeah.
just, flow from it. Uh, that's literally me thinking about something that I wish would exist
I
in
see.
relationships. So it literally is a fantasy coming to light.
Yeah,
Uh, so John Legend is huge, obviously,
yeah,
because he does the same thing. Women hear his song and it's like, oh, I want that.
yeah.
But nine times out of 10, it's not even what's really going on.
That's
It
true.
might be for him, but he's phenomenal at trying to fantasize love in a way where it's like, dang, man, I wish it really was this, because it would
Yeah,
be gravy if it was like this. So
yeah.
I think it relaxes people's minds from the tension of relationship when you make music like that,
Mm-hmm.
because um, I don't want to call it wishful thinking. I want to
Yeah.
call it something to hope for. So
I see. I see.
Adele is huge. She writes the same way, almost making it seem like you're missing a relationship you never had. That's the
Yeah,
way that
yeah,
I like to write my
yeah.
music.
Okay, I got
Yeah.
you. Now,
So
now what?
people like that. Yeah.
So you now I'm glad you brought that up because I got to be honest
Yeah.
with you. I used to always think that too. Like when I was younger, I used to hear the Isley Brothers and Keith Sweat, and the song was so beautiful. I thought myself that they lived that life. But when I got older,
Yeah.
I realized that they were single, never been married. You know what I'm saying? But the
Yeah.
song,
And that
go
yeah.
ahead.
It's
Yeah,
a good point, because uh, that for me, I'm almost 34,
yeah,
so I love those guys. Me specifically, when it comes to that traditional R&B sound, it's Avant, Tyrese,
Yeah.
Tank, Genuine. You know, I a lot. I think when you transition from Motown
Uh-huh.
into the early '90s, I think it was literally that a transition of how do we keep this flow, because
Yeah.
that's what Motown was.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
true.
My Girl, like all it's like listen to what they were saying. All they were doing was putting one woman, not two, not three, not
Yeah.
four, not they were putting one woman on a pedestal of
Yeah.
praise
Yeah.
in the best way possible to illuminate the light on one woman.
Yeah.
That's what true R&B was, because you're talking about rhythm and blues. So you're not talking about all the stuff that's out there today. You're really trying to make a woman feel the rhythm and the blues that you're making her feel.
I see.
So, you know, yeah,
Let me ask you a question. Since you are a more of a traditional R&B guy, how you feel
yeah.
about artists like Chris Brown? Do you feel like that's real R&B or more pop, hip hop? Like, how you feel
I
about it?
think he, I think he, I'm in talks with a lot of people right now that are kind of vetting my music. So, about this conversation about my direction as a traditional R&B artist versus guys like him. First of all, he's a phenomenal talent. I think he's one of the greatest performers of our generation, and he'll go down as that. I think he was supposed to be bigger from what happened.
Hmm.
Chris Brown is successful, but he's not Justin Bieber successful.
Yeah.
And he would have been Justin Bieber successful had that issue not occurred.
Yeah.
And if you look at the difference, Justin Bieber stayed that way. Chris Brown had to alter his career to help keep him mainstream and believable.
Yeah.
So, um, it he's a phenomenal talent, but it is a different genre. I was talking about this with one of my music buddies yesterday. Actually, I mean, hip hop R&B. It's more so closely related to what you would hear in rap now,
Yeah.
but with a little bit more of a gentle tone on the ear. And that's why I think it's so easy for guys to get in it now and, you know, even fluctuate their voice to make it sound like a singer, because it really is one and the same. Rap in today's R&B is truly one and the same.
That's
It's just
true.
one way you're hell bent on speaking,
Yeah.
the other way you're hell bent on singing,
Yeah.
but they're really talking about the same stuff. And when you look at the traditional hip hop and R&B, you could not compare them. Very
Yeah.
interesting
No,
if you think
I
about it.
agree.
You could not compare the two, because one was literally something that you took your lady out to on a Friday night. The other was meant to almost socially stir your heart and say, what's going on in my city? What's going on in my mind? I'm not thinking about no woman. I'm thinking about my dude over here. I'm thinking about the fact that we don't have food to eat here. I'm thinking about the black community doing this. I'm thinking about it. It made you socially aware.
Yeah.
It didn't make you get giddy about a woman. So there
Yeah.
was no comparison. Now there's a comparison,
Yeah. Yeah.
because in a sense, R&B was starting to dwindle, go to the bottom of the food chain. So how do you bring that up? Connect it with something that's still doing fine,
Yeah.
and tell all those guys to say, listen, Trey Songz, I know you had Just Gotta Make It, all that, but we need you to revamp your image and go this route instead, because our numbers for R&B ain't looking too hot.
No,
We
I
know we
agree.
signed you this original way, but our numbers don't look good anymore. So now if you want to play this game, we got to revamp your image. And then you get Say Ah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree.
Say Ah is a hip hop song saying.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Just saying. It's just
I,
saying.
I
There,
agree.
there's
I
no
agree. So
there's no difference.
it's basically them trying to stay alive, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Because those guys, Chris Brown, you know, when he sang D'Angelo Untitled, it's like, okay, bro. The sad part about this is if you made a 12 track record that was completely traditionally R&B, people would go nuts
Yeah.
because you can sing and
Yeah.
they know it. You did it once.
Yeah.
Your debut album was that. If
Yeah.
he did that now as a 33-year-old man,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it would be over. But of course, nobody would believe him anymore because his image got tarnished.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the difference between traditional R&B and the R&B we see today is your image carries your lyrics. And if your image doesn't carry your lyrics,
Yeah.
then it's not believable.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not believable. So you got like, and that's the thing that goes where you have to realize that's the catch-22 of the game. It's all about what is the best way to present this person to make them make the most business sense.
Well,
and if that's not working, this is what we have to do.
no, I agree. So speaking on that, then, do you think that, because you were talking about John Legend, do you think that you should, I mean, when it comes to being in an actual relationship as you're recording, do you think it's better to be single recording, or do you think it's better to be in a relationship when it basically comes to your image and how girls perceive you? You think more girls will gravitate to you more because you're single, or they'll be more excited because you're a married man making these songs? What you think?
It depends. I mean, look at the numbers that John Legend pulled from All of Me.
Mm-hmm.
To date, it's at over 1 billion streams.
Yeah.
And most of those streams came from the doggone video.
Yeah.
The video, because he did something that was unusual for this time period. He actually showed not only was that with the woman that he ended up with,
Mm-hmm.
but he actually showed what their life potentially is like on a daily basis.
Yeah. Yeah.
Women love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that, to see how a man actually is with them on a daily. That's why romantic chick flicks do well.
Yeah.
Because the general theme of it is they want to see the relationship, not hear it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's pluses and minuses because John Legend was able to showcase something that potentially was reality.
Yeah.
When you do it the other way and you're single, it might attract more fans, but it's only with this facade that I might end up with this person.
Yeah.
So you're actually attracting people who are wishfully thinking that you are bae on the side.
Yeah.
When you have no chance whatsoever of being with them. It's just the beauty of the way the music industry works is you can literally attract and create loyal fans out of people who think they could end up with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Guys, women still to this day will wholeheartedly talk about being in love with Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
Hate on his relationship like no other.
Yeah.
Because they genuinely feel he is fair game for them. And there's a possibility that they could be together. So it's also about the age dynamic as well. Because Justin Bieber versus John Legend, you're talking about two different levels of monetization. Justin Bieber is on another level of money compared to John Legend, but more people would respect and admire John Legend for how he portrayed his love.
Yeah, no, that's true. No, that's definitely true. Now, when it comes to the business end, do you like the independent route, or would you like to be signed more? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, that's a good question. Again, I was talking about this with someone the other day as well. So, the independent music industry, and I'm gonna say it like this because I think it's time that it gets addressed like this. The music industry is getting segregated to where you're either independent or you're a majorly signed artist. And if you think about segregation, not a whole lot of good has come from that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a Black Studies major right now in school. So a lot of things that I relate come from the historical context that I know in school to be true from our history. And so when you look at the way the music industry is ran, indies are isolating themselves. It's almost like separatism, literally, which is a thing. People who believes race should not be intertwined.
Yeah.
And so people are starting to look down so hardcore on one or the other that you're actually eliminating potential opportunity. Because you'll never hear someone who made it talk about if someone comes to you do not push them away. You'll never hear them say, don't talk to them. You'll hear them say, don't push them away, number one. And number two, get insight at what they're saying.
Yeah.
Get insight on what they're saying, because there's a world where you're getting guys caught up in the essence of, I'm an independent artist. Well, what does that really mean? Because if you're independent, that means you're signed. So what is your budget?
Yeah.
What's your budget? Because if you're major, if you're saying you're a major, what's your budget? Your budget might be $500 million.
Yeah.
What's your budget if you're indie? Are you prepared to really call yourself an indie? Because if you have a budget, then yeah, you're an indie. You got 30, 40, 50 grand that you're preparing to use to market. Because if you're saying you're an independent artist, you're preparing yourself to handle a business. And if you don't want that, then you're not an independent artist. You're actually a musician who's pursuing music.
Yeah.
To be an independent artist means you didn't wait to get signed. You're signed now. So being signed means you have a budget. That's why we can't move forward as independent artists, because when the real head honchos call and they say, what's your budget? I don't have one. So I guess you're just the guy out in the street trying to sort it out. We have to choose our words more carefully when we talk about indie and being signed to a major label, because they're both still businesses. And if we look so hardcore on, I want to own my masters, this, that, and the other, how much good is going to come from that if you don't have a systematic approach to how you're going to monetize? Because how many indies do you hear talking about, here's my numbers and here's what I'm making off of my numbers? What you do here is, here's my numbers. Then the crickets come. Then the crickets come. Why do the crickets come? Because it's one thing to have numbers, but the music business is about revenue generation.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if you're an indie or a majorly signed artist, your product has to return to you in the form of capital, so you can reinvest those funds. So only difference is you're agreeing to not go to the major label bank. You still better get your butt to the bank if you're an independent artist. I took out a loan for $30,000 taking the same advice as Russ, this, that, all these other guys. If you want to be independent, you need capital and a lot of it.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of it, because you cannot compete with just Instagram ads and Spotify playlist submissions. You need real capital to give yourself a fighting chance.
Man, that's
one
good
song.
Advice. Yeah.
One song. If you really feel like you got it as an indie, you better be prepared to put at least 10 behind one song.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, that's
one
great
song.
Advice. Yeah.
So if that's not the lingo you're trying to speak in, then it's like, where are we really at?
Yeah.
So to me, I'd rather see the guys like Rick Ross, Jay-Z, 50. They're trying to do it. They're doing it. But it's got to be more people. Nip was also doing it as well, where you got to start educating, especially the Black community, to say, I don't care if you think you're independent. Find a way to get capital.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have that, you cannot be an independent artist. And then you are forced to pursue a major deal, because that's the bank.
Yeah.
That's the bank. You either have good credit and get a loan yourself. Boom, you're signed. Boom, there's your budget. Or you have to go to Atlantic and say, here are my numbers. Here's my fan base. Can I get an advance?
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's the same thing. So me personally, it's whatever is conducive for you. If you can get capital and make it work as an indie, fine. But let it be known, just like Nipsey, let it be known. Don't get it twisted. Nipsey signed a joint venture at the end of his career with Atlantic. It didn't mean that he was owned by them. He went into business with them.
Yeah.
Went into business. So people have to understand, you cannot run from these people. Eventually, it will probably make better business sense for you to be involved with them. It doesn't mean that you have to be owned by them. Because Nipsey did it in a way where his masters still were in his possession.
Yeah.
But people have to understand the finance behind it. So for me, it's about preference and it's about finance. If you can't get it, you need to choose another route. If your credit is jacked up, you need to choose another route, because most cats now are telling guys, stop worrying about the deal right now. Go get a doggone loan.
Yeah.
It's a business loan, right?
Yeah.
Ain't this a business? Start looking at your music as product. Go get a loan. Russ said it. He's like, I don't care. He's like, I took out a loan for X, Y, and Z. I don't care about paying this off for the rest of my life. What else are you paying off for the rest of your life? Student loans,
Phone bill,
mortgage,
insurance.
It's one more thing.
Yeah.
It's one more thing. Find a way to add a $300 payment to your monthly expenses and take out a $30,000 loan.
Mm-hmm.
And then learn how to use that to actually start turning heads and say, okay, my dude, I like what you're doing, but you need to come up to another level.
Yeah.
Because now you're starting to spend capital like what we deal with.
Yeah.
So eventually the independent term fades out.
Mm-hmm.
Because eventually, if you get that big, you're not independent. You're still dealing with the big wigs. Who was Nipsey featuring in his records?
Yeah. 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 A lot of big
So
artists. Yeah. Yeah.
you independent Chance the Rapper. Who was on his
Yeah.
songs?
Yeah. Big artists. Yeah.
It's a cliche statement that's getting too cliche at this point.
Yeah.
To where guys got to realize, homie, it's still the business. It's just about how you want to create it at first.
Yeah.
At first, everyone looks different at first. Nip did it differently at first. Ryan Leslie did it differently at first. Russ did it different at first. You will do it too. But eventually, you're going to start shaking those hands.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, you're right. Well,
you're going to start shaking those hands.
Well, since you're talking about masters, let's go ahead and keep it going. When it comes to the publishing, BMI ASCAP, who you with and why?
You know, to be honest, they really don't serve a huge because when you look at it, you're talking about mechanical royalties, you're talking about licensing. I mean, it really is only beneficial to you if your music is really doing damage. I think guys look at it as this is like a label to me. And then you start seeing the revenue you're generating. It's like, well, what's going on? Because this is really performance royalties.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not really doing, it's not streaming royalties. It's different. People got to understand there's several different types of royalties that come to you as an artist. And that itself is not probably where you're at as a musician. Everyone's after the streaming royalties, which is what Spotify and Apple Music isn't. So me personally, I just chose ASCAP. They're one and the same at the end of the day. You know, it is beneficial at a certain point in your career because obviously you want that credit for your lyrics and whatnot. But I don't think it is that big of a deal in the initial startup of your company, just like a startup company for anything. Certain stuff you just don't need. So that's why when I see so many other people who provide advice for musicians, it's like, who are you with? It really doesn't matter, bro. Mm-hmm. It's really about when you start generating revenue, don't lose any. So you need to be with one or the other.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a little bit over sensationalized where it's like, oh, I'm an ASCAP artist. So it's very easy. That's like registering your a name to doing business as.
Yeah.
It's not going to matter until, again, just as the general theme of some of the conversations I've been on is until you start generating capital. That way you don't miss out. When you start doing major shows, radio, all mechanical, that's when it's going to save you and say, I'm entitled to this money. But even me right now, I make more from streaming royalties than waiting from my check from ASCAP.
Yeah, I got you. No, I got you. I got you on that. Well, yep. and I know you got some new music out. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I just did a song called Everything. Did a huge video to that in Miami. um, piano, all that was dope, you know. So again, we've already talked about my passion for traditional R&B.
Yeah.
So that was not my sole purpose, because me personally, I thought the beat was a little bit more up to date, but I still wanted it to sit sweetly in that pocket. And so released that, started marketing it, did a ton of Instagram ads behind it, and it got great response and whatnot. So a lot of people found me from it, which is what some of the conversations are now. So it's a good song. I love it. You know, people, I've gotten great reviews from it in
Yeah.
terms of the mission is complete. Like, bro, this is late 90s, early 2000s. You know, it's a catch 22, because some of the people are like, dude, you sound great, but be careful of this, because that may not be this, it may not make business sense at the end of the day. But then there's other people who are like, bro, this is exactly the R&B that we need. So for me, uh, songs like that are just, they're just easy writes for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
because I just feel it, you know, it's
Yeah.
just a vibe for me. And so releasing that song felt good. It felt right. And, you know, it very well could be the song that takes me to the next level. I look at that as my first major release, because again, I spent just about 10 on the whole project.
Yeah. I got you. No, I
So
got you.
I look at that as that was my first major release as an independent artist,
Yeah.
and here's where it's going to take me moving forward. But um, that's kind of my style. I love that traditional R&B sound. And then shortly before that, I did a song called No Better Time, which is a little bit more up to date in terms of the instrumentation behind it. Just one of those, almost like one of those songs where August might sing it, something like that.
Okay.
Um, but real soulful, and that's gotten great response and feedback too. So I'm trying to find I'm trying to find my major release sound.
I
I think a
see.
lot of stuff I've done in the beginning was, okay, you're really trying to sort out the artist that you want to be.
Yeah.
And now I'm coming into my own, and every artist says, but it's true though. It really is true. Like, even though you can sing, you
Yeah.
do not know who you are when you start singing.
No, I see. I
So
see.
at this point, I really feel like I'm locked into the sound I want to make that's commercial quality. And those last in it, and it took me years. It took me years to find that. I think I
Yeah.
like a lot of my older stuff,
Okay.
but though those two songs are definitely hitting right now. Between those two songs,
Uh,
I've
and,
probably gathered about 350,000 streams thus far in the
oh
last few
man, that's
months.
sweet. And name them one
Yeah.
more time. Name those two that you will definitely want people to go check out.
Yeah, no better time and everything.
And
So no better
everything.
time and everything. Yep, yep. It's on the
Definitely.
Spotify. Everyone uses different stuff, but on the Spotify, it should come up as the top 5 songs on my profile.
Top five. So now, can you drop a couple of names of people that kind of help you get to this point? Inspiration, the people that help you musically. Like, could you drop some names and like, who helped you get to this point?
Oh man, like actual people I've worked with, or people who just
People,
influenced me, like
yeah,
art.
people, yeah, actually, people you work with, family members that
So
encourage you, that things like
yeah,
that.
yeah. So when I was 17, like I said, I'm in Michigan,
Mm-hmm.
and so when I was 17, my house was right down the street from a guy by the name of Chuck Alkazian. He actually was responsible for "Lose Yourself," right
Okay.
down the street from my house.
Yeah.
Literally wrote the guitar riff for that song. An old beat up place on purpose, because it's an A-list recording studio, and I didn't realize how much heat he had. So one day
Yeah.
I walked up to the door, knocked on it, and I'm just like, it's now or never. Literally 17 years old, pulled off the road and knocked on the door. He opened it. We had like a 30-minute conversation, only for him to say, "You're not ready yet." And he was right, because I wasn't, you
Yeah.
know. I mean, here he is, a Grammy winning producer, and I'm just like, I'm not here for any trouble. I just want to be a singer. Okay, cool. Like, that was the tail end of just tell somebody you want to sing and see what they say. They
Yeah.
don't work like that now. But um I say that to say he was the first big person I worked with and also the first mentor that I had in the business.
Okay.
So I did two records with him, Lover, which is on there as well, which I shot a video for as well. That's on YouTube and Spotify as well. But he really shifted my mind in terms of what it's like to really do it and to
Gotcha.
really record. And so that mentorship was invaluable because the days that I would record with him, he would literally tell me about all of these experiences and whatnot. And
Yeah.
I guarantee every other artist has been in when I worked with here and did man, and I you mirror this and and I also would say that. So when you hear that, it's like this is someone giving you the first point of access into your dreams.
Yeah.
And that's critical. That's critical. That's why I say this person, because he gave me my first point of entry into what it's really like to be in a room where John Legend was, where
Yeah.
Christina Aguilera
Yeah.
was, where all, and when you feel that, it's like I bought a first class ticket, even though
Yeah.
I couldn't afford it, just to feel what it's like to sit there.
I
And
got you.
so people like that are huge. And from there, I met one of his colleagues, Arthur Watson, who has been a really pivotal part in my life, just on a personal level and musically. So he's been huge, and just definitely in gratitude for him. But obviously, like I said, my mom and my
Definitely.
my father,
Okay.
undoubtedly. But those people for sure, I would have to credit for Chuck, Arthur, for definitely getting me in on the other side of it.
Definitely. That's what's up.
Yeah, yeah.
What's next for Princeton? What should we be
That's a
excited to wait for?
that's a that's a good question. I don't know if I can say some of this stuff because it's still in talks,
Uh-huh.
but I hate to say, because every time an artist says, "Man, we got big things coming," like everyone knows it. It's like, okay, clearly, dude, like clearly something popped off. In 5 months from now, you're going to be on BET. 5 months
Yeah,
from now, you're so things like that are beginning to take shape.
I see.
So, and that's why I think it's important for guys to understand this is a game at the end of the day. And if you want to play, you have to attract the people who will put you in the game. And
Yeah,
that's going to cost money. This is not a free game. It is an expensive game to
yeah,
play. It's just like stock. It's
yeah,
just like NFTs. It's just like real estate. You are an investment into yourself. And if you are not willing to spend 50, $60,000 on yourself over the course of maybe 2 to 3 years, you're not that serious. Because if you're willing to wait for a label to spend 150 grand on you to shoot a music video, you didn't believe in yourself.
yeah.
You really didn't believe in yourself, because this is what I've been able to do with roughly, like I said, 10 grand going into everything.
Yeah,
I've been able to garner attention from several people who say, bro, you need to be on the other side.
yeah.
That's dope. Talk to me. Let's do it. And let's make it do what it do. So that's the importance of it. So for me, I'll say it like this. It's the next level. That's the
I see.
direction. That's the next step for me. And what everyone can expect is the next level. So however anyone wants to take that, it's whatever you can imagine. Let your mind wander and do that. But there's definitely a lot of conversation brewing on how can Princeton Michael officially enter into the music industry as a commercial artist. That's what's next.
That's what's up. That's what's up, man. Well,
Yeah.
I thank you so much for coming on. And I know you're
Yeah,
so
yeah. I
busy, man,
appreciate you.
but and I know you got big things. Like I said, we would definitely be waiting and
Yeah,
make
yeah.
sure that y'all check out everything and new single and everything else on his list. Y'all make sure y'all check it out. Add it to your
Yeah.
Spotify playlist. Y'all definitely,
Yes,
man.
yes.
And thank you for coming on, man. I'm Bashan Mosley, Princeton Michael. Thank y'all for tuning in and
Yes.
stay tuned for more. Peace.